Well, good afternoon, or should I say good evening, to my fellow travelers out there. This is Bob Gumbs, and I'm bringing you the Concerned Forum. As we used to say sometimes when we were getting ready to go into action, gentlemen, well, in this case, ladies and gentlemen, we are in a moment of peril here in the United States, and it's not looking good. It seems the whole world hates us. Well, let me correct that. When I say the whole world, I'm talking about the people who were our allies, our friends. For example, American mothers now have to prepare their children for the fact that they might, in a year or two, have to go and shed blood against who? Canada! Yes, the land of maple syrup. Now, who in the hell ever imagined that we were going to send the Marines into Quebec? Tell me. Oh, and not only Canada, but also Greenland. So I guess that means that we're going to have to do a strategic bombing mission on Denmark. This is what Trump has brought this country to. And one other point that needs to be made while we are starting fresh here is that racism is extremely expensive. And I have my eye on the clock. It is 3:44. Let's see if we can do a good 54-minute soliloquy here. But back to the point, racism and bigotry are expensive. And the American people, all of the American people, are paying the price for that racism as I speak. Now, let's understand something. I'm not saying that all of a sudden everyone here in America, black, white, Asian, Latino, Bulgarian, whomever, I'm not saying that we have to suddenly turn around and just run up and start kissing each other, singing Kumbaya. However, I do believe that at this point in time, we have to, how should I say this? We have to realize and recognize the fact that we are in a horrible fix. And the reason that we are in this horrible fix is because of racism. And I'll tell you exactly why I say this. What we have done in this country, we have elected a guy, or I should say re-elected a guy. Now, I made some notes here. Let's see. Start off with, the guy was a draft dodger, right? Now, I know I might be showing my age somewhat when I say draft dodger. But you see, I was the tail end. I was the last one. That's why people look at me kind of funny when I start talking about Vietnam. Because thanks be to God and the genes of my dad, I don't look my age. Also, because of the fact, hey, don't twist it now. I didn't say I look like Denzel Washington. I just said I don't look my age, right? But I'm one of those people. I went in the military the first time when I was 17. And at that point, the war was starting to go on a downhill slope, right? But you know, it was a good experience and it was a bad experience. It was a bad experience because, unfortunately, you have to remember, when I went in the military, Martin Luther King had been assassinated, it was only about 4 years before. So those wounds were still fresh. It was good because of the fact that, excuse me, it was good because of the fact that you had a chance, Americans had a chance to be with other Americans. You had the guy who, how should I say this, dug ditches for a living or flipped burgers working next to the person who was a college person, a law school grad. And see, you had a good cross section of people in the military, and people had the opportunity to know each other. But we don't have that now, unfortunately. And this is one of the reasons why sometimes we seem like we are so far apart. Well, I remember when Donald Trump used to hang out in some of the clubs on Lexington Avenue trying to talk to the girls. Of course, he never had any problem with that because he was wealthy. He was, as we would say in the military in those days, and I believe we still say in the military nowadays, he was the kind of guy that would have to buy it, okay? He wasn't a bad-looking kid now, don't get me wrong. The reason he looks so bent out of shape and ugly now is because of the evil in his soul. But yeah, I remember when Donald got his daddy to pay a doctor 5 times. I believe he used the same doctor because this doctor was renting property, an apartment or something, from Donald's dad. 5 times. This kid gets out of the draft. Meanwhile, the people that Donald loves to dump on, us wild black and brown savages out of the projects, we were the ones going to Nam, going to the border in Germany, see? But not Donald. Oh, no. Donald was too good for that. So what's that thing that the MAGA people invented? Trump disease, Trump hate disease or something like that? Well, I will tell you straight up, I definitely have that disease. Yes, indeed I do. Because this guy who had the nerve to buy his way out of the military 5 times, he didn't even have the decency like Bush Jr. did to go into the National Guard. He just ran away. Now, you might ask, well, how do you feel about the people that protested the war? They have my respect. Just like Muhammad Ali got big respect. And he didn't go, and he said, hell no, I'm not doing it. And here are my reasons. Those people that burned draft cards, made speeches, and remember, most of the people who were against the war were in the military, okay? But those people that didn't go but protested the war, once again, I say, they have my respect because they took a stand. And in democracy, that's what it's supposed to be about, that you feel that you're in a free country and you have a right to voice your opinion. Donald didn't do anything. Donald just went on and lived his happy, rich man's life at the expense of how many other boys that did go into the military or were drafted. My number came up the year after I joined the military. So I think I know what I'm talking about when I speak to that. And why do I harp on this? Because it shows character, right? And a lot of you out there had the idea that it was okay to put into the chief executive's chair a man with no character. Oh, that's fine. Fine that he has been convicted of stealing, right? Of cooking the books, of making people, work for him and then not paying them. and also, in other cases, not paying what they were owed. And see, this is what really upsets me about this whole business. The guy has a record as long as you're on. And you have all these parents, especially some of these conservative-minded parents, right, talking, "Oh, I try to teach my kid about values and blah." What the hell lesson are you teaching your kid when he sees you out there voting for and also cheering for a guy that's a racist, a rapist, a draft dodger, a thief, a liar? And now people are walking around, "Oh, well, gee, I'm losing my business because of what Trump is doing. I'm a farmer. All my employees have run away. I voted for Trump. Why is this happening?" Well, listen, I think it's time in America that people start growing up and also starting to use their common sense, even in situations that they might not like. You see, you might like the bigotry that Trump has towards certain groups of people, but you are dumb enough to risk your future and the future of your family simply because you liked his bigotry. You liked him because he attacked immigrants. And who were the immigrants that he attacked? Oh, well, my goodness, what a strange coincidence. All these immigrants appear to be, shall we say, of the darker color. Now, I don't hear folks out there yelling about, "Oh, well, there's too many damn Eastern Europeans in this country," or "there's too many damn Canadians in this country." Don't hear none of that, right? But yet, those Mexicans are bringing drugs. In the first place, nobody is bringing drugs, okay? The whole drug pipeline thing would not exist if it wasn't for the consumption on the part of Americans here. Just like with weapons, right? Where did the gangs south of the border, where did they come to get weapons, right? They come here to the United States. And what some of these people try to do, they're trying to take their character flaws that we have as a nation and blame it on somebody else. And brown people are a convenient target. You elected a president that said that black people steal their neighbors' pets, their dogs and cats, and cook them. Yeah, he said that. Oh, yes, he did. That's what he said about black folks. And he was talking about the Haitians in Ohio. And guess what? For the most part, Haitians are, well, gee, they all look like me. As a matter of fact, one of them, not recently, but back in the day, as we say, one of them was my grandmother. Yes. I have a father that was born in the American Virgin Islands, and his father was Dominican, and his mother was a French lady from Haiti. So Donald says that I have pet thieves in my genes. And you wonder why I have such contempt for Donald Trump? A man who the free world looks upon as a ignorant idiot, which he is. I am so sorry. I see that my former idol, and yeah, I really had a great thing for Bill Maher up until about a year ago. I don't know what the hell happened to this guy, But he needs to speak to someone. He needs to get some help because he has dinner with Donald Trump. And Bill Maher has made no secret of the fact that he's half Jewish and half Irish, which I think is absolutely wonderful. But yet, why would you go and have dinner for a man that hosted at the White House two of America's best known anti-Semites? That African-American gentleman, the one that lost all these contracts, I can't think of his name offhand, and the other guy with the Hispanic last name. Two of America's biggest anti-Semites. And then Donald turns around and wants to attack Harvard University for what is it that these MAGA people are crying about at universities? Because they educate people and they teach people how to think, not what to think. That's what Donald wants universities to do and schools to do. Not to teach how to think, but what to think. And there's a big hell of a difference. Because if everyone in this country who voted were taught somewhere along the lines how to think, we wouldn't have Donald Trump sitting in the White House. And see, MAGA doesn't like that. And these people that call themselves Republicans nowadays, there is no Republican Party. What we have now is a nascent, what's the proper term? An embryonic American Nazi Party. And no one in this country needs to instruct me about what the Republican Party is. I was born in the Republican family. My old man ran for the assembly in Harlem, of all places. Not Idaho, not Iowa, not Dakota, but New York City in Harlem. And him and my mother were rock-rib black Republicans. The thing is, he was a confidant. My old man was a confidant of Malcolm X. You can see him in some of the pictures taken of Malcolm. Also, he was a shop steward. He was a working man, right, in a candy factory in Brooklyn. And he was a union shop steward. But see, that was the Republican Party before they took the suicide pill and tolerated the right-wing unregenerated Confederates into the Republican Party. And see, that's the situation that we have now. There is no Republican Party. Like I said, there is a young fascist party, American Fascist Party, but the Republican Party that we knew in the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, even in the time of Ronald Reagan, that party is rest in peace. It's dead. It's gone. And people need to be aware of that. People need to wake up to that fact. Because these people, when I say these people, I'm referring to the Trumpsters, right? To the MAGA. These people hate democracy. Trump and MAGA and Vance. Oh, let's not talk about Vance, our supposedly Harvard-educated vice president, right? When somebody says, well, yeah, he was in the Marines, that kind of sticks in my throat. I served with Marines. I'm Navy. I served with Marines. They're damn good people. Vance does not come across as a Marine, in my estimation. But that's my opinion. But anybody that doesn't have the guts to stick up for his wife, I don't see how he could have made it through the core, quite frankly. And that's another thing about these guys. I'm sick of these guys, no matter what their party affiliation, that allow Donald Trump to disrespect their wives in public. I mean, that is, who are we talking about? People like, what's his name, Ted Cruz, for example. And there are a couple of other ones out there. And I just, I don't get it. I really don't. I'm trying to understand how these men who were the sons and grandsons of the guys that landed in Normandy and Iwo Jima, they're gutless in front of a whining little, well, back in the hood, we would call him a whiny little bitch. But he is a whiny little bitch with money, apparently, or connections, one or the other. But these are the type of people that want to run our country. These are the people that want to take away our democracy. And folks, if we let that happen, we deserve what we get. Oh, and let's not forget about Elon. Elon the Freon, Mr. Musk, right? This guy who comes out of nowhere, well, actually not nowhere. He comes out of South Africa. He runs out of South Africa, runs away. Well, he moves, put it that way. And then he goes to Canada. And why in the hell he didn't stay in Canada, God only knows. But I find it kind of strange that, this guy that he seems to be so concerned about Western civilization. He seems like he wants to do everything he can to destroy it. So I don't know. You tell me. But, thinking about Western civilization, I'm trying to give you a quick rundown of what's been going on. Going back to our friend, the vice president, what the hell does he think his purpose in life is? What does he think his job is? To go around the world insulting people in the name of the United States. Well, oops, got a little problem here. Okay. That's not the job of the vice president, okay? When you when you refer to people as peasants, I mean, what are you trying to say? I mean, Vance, you're a hillbilly. Who says so? Well, you did. You called yourself a hillbilly. Remember that book that you wrote? Was it Hillbilly Legacy or whatever the hell it is? You call the people that inhabit the biggest nation in the world, especially population-wise, you call these people, you refer to them as peasants. Well, like the Chinese ambassador said, China's been around for like 5,000 years, okay? And the idea that you, Vice President Vance, believe that someone with the caliber of Donald Trump is going to bully these people. You didn't take history? You studied no history when you were at Harvard? Because, see, one of the problems that America has is I don't know what is it. Is it because our history, some of us are so ashamed of it? I mean, I don't know. You have to tell me, right? China is not going to let itself be pushed around by Russia, by America, Europe, no one. And quite frankly, I know exactly where they're coming from. Be quite frank about it, I wish that Americans here had that same type of attitude. All we have is Donald, okay? But if you knew your history, like I said, China's stance on this whole tariff thing would come as no surprise. China has been humiliated for the last 3 centuries. Excuse me, last 2 centuries. Remember, I think China is the only nation in the world that was beaten in 2 wars and forced to sell narcotics to their own people, called the Opium Wars. Look it up. All right, that was with Britain. The British fought them to force them to sell opium, and the Americans were on the side making a nice profit. One of my favorite presidents, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, you might have heard of him, and his cousin Theodore, who was president before him. Their family foundation came from the opium trade. As a matter of fact, some of these, fancy universities were founded. How? With slavery, African slavery, and opium. Yeah. You'd be surprised what you find out when you open up a history book. We need to start electing people that can at least read a damn history book. I don't know what the hell is the sense of going to Ivy League schools if you're going to be a dummy when you get into public affairs. I don't get it, right? I really don't understand it. But this is the circus that we have going on in our country today. And it's sad, it's really sad. We have to basically change our attitude. We have to change ourselves. And what really, I just don't get it, is the fact that America, we are a great nation. We have changed the world. We fought for freedom when freedom wasn't popular, and we won. We can change the world. We did change the world. Can we not change ourselves? That's the question. And again, I go back to this past election. You had Trump, a guy with a record as long as your arm. And you had this young black Asian lady, right? Now, MAGA was running around. They like to call everyone they don't like DEI recipients. You know who's a DEI recipient? Your vice president. Yeah. Vance is an example of people that benefit from DEI. DEI just means that people that never had a chance before get a chance now. You know who's benefited the most from quote-unquote DEI? And I mean no disrespect when I say this. And I think it is justified that they have benefited from it. But white Christian females have got the most benefit so far from DEI. And that is a good thing. In a country where the population is over half female, why is that a bad thing? Huh? Why is that a bad thing? Trump, this guy who, when he had a chance to go into the military and serve his country, he ran like a coward. He ran like a rabbit. But now he wants to be Rambo. He wants to be Patton. He doesn't want to see black folks, male or female, in the military, especially in any type of command positions, right? Now, I'm sorry that Colin decided to be a good soldier and gave what he thought was evidence as to why we should go into Iraq. But aside from that, I mean, the man was a genius. His career was great. And I'm quite sure that if Trump had been in the White House, Colin would have, I doubt he would have ever seen General, to be quite frank about it. And see, this is something else, because I keep hearing about our military folks. They used to say that they were mostly Republican and that they all loved Trump. I don't believe that. I think you have a lot of folks in the military who come from places like West Virginia and the so-called heartland. I think they might have had what you would call, I don't like to say the term conservative, but a traditional bent on things. But I'm sorry, I can't see military guys, American military guys, loving a cat that was a draft dodger and someone who tried to overthrow a constitutional election. You know, hey, maybe I misjudge the commitment and the patriotism of my fellow first soldiers, then sailors and Marines, but I just don't see it. This guy who says that people like myself, military people, especially people like myself, disabled veterans, that we are somehow losers, right? This is what Trump said. This came out of his mouth. And a few other choice epithets that he had to say about military people. And they were not nice, put it that way. And I think he tried to weasel out of one of them. But then you got to ask yourself, who are you going to believe? Donald Trump or a 4-star Marine general? I'll let you all figure that one out. But see, this is the kind of crap that we have going on, right? If you're over 60, you're garbage. If you're on Medicaid or Medicare or Social Security. And I'm just wondering, does Donald Trump really give a damn about the American people? I'm talking about the American people who are not like in the, Fortune, what do they call that crap? Fortune 500 or whatever? I mean, other people, regular people, right? Because he does everything to hurt working class Americans. And see, you have this, because there's nothing new about MAGA. You've always had a core group in this country who, for them, race and ethnicity mean everything. And in reality, the American flag means nothing. They want to use the American flag as a shroud. Shrouds are for dead people. That's what you wrap the dead in, okay? The American flag is supposed to be a symbol of America, alive, vibrant, and yes, ever-changing, as our Irish and Italian and Jewish fellow citizens can tell you. But this business that we have now of hunting down brown immigrants, this isn't American. This is something out of the Nazi Gestapo, 1936. Americans aren't supposed to hunt people down like that. We have grown as a country. Those folks that sit around talking about, the 60s were so terrible. No, the 60s were great. It had its problems just like the roaring 20s had its problems. Are you upset because more African Americans were able to vote without getting, or try to vote without getting lynched? Are you upset because women can go and they can have their own MasterCard cards now, or credit cards? Huh? Before the 60s, that didn't happen. Damn sure it didn't happen unless the lady was from a well-to-do, wealthy family. But the average working class woman did not. I don't care what color she was. She did not have a credit card. Okay? And the 60s, yeah, 60s changed that. And these people that want to try and pollute the study of American history. History is not supposed to be like some kind of rah, rah, rah America thing. History is history. History is there to teach, to try and help us from avoiding the mistakes of the past. And to do that, you have to have truth. And the farthest thing from this administration is truth. And something else I wanted to say as well. There seems to be, on the part of some people, that the Democratic Party somehow disappointed or let down working class Americans. Now, the first thing you got to understand is that nothing created by man is perfect, right? We are imperfect beings, okay? However, this whole thing about, what do they call that with the Democrats? They say that we are we worry too much about various groups and what have you. They call that something. I was just thinking about that last night. The fact that I think the thing that really troubles some people in this country is because the Democratic Party has allowed women to have a voice in politics. It has enabled black women to have a voice in politics. It has allowed Latina women to have a voice in politics. And I think that disturbs people, a certain class of people. Well, listen, Kamala Harris had an idea that we should investigate why are prices so damn high. How the hell that happened? She wanted to have a commission to study and find out why is the American family being slammed with these ridiculously high food prices? Well, that's out the window. Kamala Harris had an idea to help young Americans who were trying to start their first, get their first home. She had an idea to maybe help people to get their first home, to help the housing industry, to help communities. Yeah, she had that, an idea to do that stuff. That's out the window too. Matter of fact, quite a few things Kamala wanted to do, which unfortunately it ain't going to happen anytime soon, because a certain amount of Americans, number one, decided to stay home and not vote for anybody. Oh, they're terrible. There's no one out there to vote for. So the hell with it. I'm just going to stay home and play video games or watch TV, whatever. Well, we have to thank those people, all right? Because they sure as hell helped put Trump in the White House. And we want to thank those people that allowed themselves to be brainwashed with this nonsense. Well, I'm going with Trump because he's the businessman. Man, look, once and for all, Donald Trump is not some kind of brilliant businessman, okay? If anything, he is a good showman for people with weak minds, all right? Now, if you are a mature, thinking, intelligent person, and you could look at Donald Trump and enjoy the show, but have enough good sense to vote for what's in your best interest, yeah, that's fine. But unfortunately, a lot of Americans are not like that, okay? And we really need to do something about education nationwide in this country. Because, again, going back to this thing about him in Harvard, it's not anybody trying to teach you what to think. But, yeah, you need to learn how to think. And a lot of Americans are not, they ain't that good at it. Now, you look at this guy, the Speaker of the House. His state, when you look at the statistics on health and healthcare and education and infrastructure, it's a damn slaughterhouse. You look at some of these red states and you have to ask yourself, are these people in the 21st century? And that also ties into this thing about, we want to bring back manufacturing. Listen, when somebody says that, right, to me that's just as dumb as what a lot of Americans do. All right, they want to try to raise their kid. I mean, do you think it makes sense to raise your kid for the 19th century, for the 1890s? Because that's what Trump is all about, right? Socially, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of trade, right? In terms of race relations, the whole ball of wax. And a lot of you Americans, especially out there in the heartland, you really need to sit down and think about what you're doing with your children. That's to go into a side issue. I am not a great friend of school boards, the school boards, because in most working class communities, you don't have enough people running around with degrees and knowledge, right? And the ability to separate their personal biases, which we all have, right? To be able to separate that from what a kid needs to learn, okay? And this is something else. I mean, that really scares me when I think about the future my kids will have, right? What kind of, it's like these people, to me, that's the worst kind of isolationism, You just want to build big walls and fences and shut out the rest of the world. Number one, it's dangerous. Number two, it's stupid, right? Don't take my word for it. Ask all them farmers that are going bankrupt out there in the so-called heartland. We have to be able to engage with the rest of the world, whether you like the rest of the world or not. And your kids are going to have to do likewise. And we have to come to an understanding that, you're trying to raise a kid for a future. You have no idea what that future is going to be like. And you know what you're doing? All you're doing is you are teaching your kids fear, right? That's what you're doing. You're teaching them fear. Oh, well, you can't have too many of these brown people in the country coming from South America and Africa. Oh, and you know who? The next group that Trump is going to screw with? Chinese, Asians. I'll put money on it. Because that's all he does, right? He hops around from phony issue to phony issue, scaring folks and keeping them scared. Look, let me say this straight out, right? America has screwed over people of color. I know some people don't like that term, people of color, but that, until I can think of something better, I'll keep using it. But when you're talking about people from Latin America, when you're talking about people from Asia, when you're talking about native indigenous people here, right? And that's just, I'm sorry, that's a fact. That's history, okay? That's why I'm here in New York City, all right? This is not the name of this place. It's not the original name. But people from Europe came here, took the joint over, colonized it, and named it what they wanted to name it, right? And that happened. Yes, it did happen. And yes, the basis of America is chattel slavery. And I know a lot of people, they don't like to hear that, right? What was that? Oh, God, that damn, that business about the with the colleges and the whole idea that you don't want to, you're trying to teach hate and all this other nonsense. Well, no, that's crap. Okay? No white Christian American is responsible for slavery today. Okay? You had nothing to do with it. The issue is when you have bad, unjust, unfair, cruel systems in place that you had nothing to do with putting those systems up. But the question of trying to remove those systems somehow gets you upset, then you need to really sit down and have a talk with yourself. That's all I'm saying, right? MAGA, Trump, and unfortunately, a large part of what used to be the Republican Party, they want to say that when you teach any type of black history, that you're trying to teach hate. Now, I'll give you a prime example, a place like Florida, right? They're doing all they can to make it seem like black people never existed. Okay? Seriously. Just like in parts of the Southwest, they don't want to teach the history of the land grants and how the original people who lived there were basically kicked off their own land in most cases. And that's another thing most Americans don't seem to realize. New Mexico, Nevada, California, Texas, woo-hoo, yeah, places like that, all up into Colorado. All of that was Latino, see? And they want to stop people from from learning that history. And see, when you try to stop history, when you try to carve and shape and mold facts to make somebody else feel better, right? Well, that's not teaching the history. That's called propaganda, see? And that's what Donald Trump and MAGA, that's what they want people to do, right? To learn propaganda, not history. And what that does, it creates a false way of thinking, right? That's how you got Korea. That's how you got Vietnam. That's why we had guys running around in sandals, killing our boys and girls throughout the Middle East, because you don't learn history, right? You've been indoctrinated and brainwashed with a lot of BS. That's the problem with Vance calling Chinese peasants, right? Because if you knew the history of China and respected said history, you wouldn't be in a trade war. But see, that's what I meant when I said at the beginning of this thing, racism can be damned expensive. And what that had to do with the election is the fact that you had an intelligent, experienced in the law, right, and government, but you chose to go with the clown, the showman, right? And now you are scared, you're angry, you're upset, and you want to smack somebody, but you don't even know who the hell to smack. And see, that's because this whole supremacy kick, right, got into your head so deep that you went out and you voted to cut your own throat. I mean, my God, look at what happened to the Latino community. Oh, and the reason why I say Latino, as opposed to a lot of people like to say Hispanic, is because Hispanic, that comes from what? The Iberian Peninsula, right? Latino, that Latin America or South America, Central America, the Caribbean. And it's a mixed culture, right? Which is beautiful. I mean, I'm part of that culture. I think it's beautiful. But this whole racism thing in this country, it got Latino people so twisted and turned around that they voted for a guy to send their own wives and cousins and family members to El Salvador, to some prison camp in El Salvador. And that's one of the harms of what racism can do to people. And that's why we have such a rotten, crappy-ass government that we have right now in the United States. And it's not a thing about, oh, well, gee, Bob, if you don't like America so much, well, why don't you leave it? Because that's the wrong answer. If you got a brother or a father, who are, they criminals, right? You don't have to be a criminal, but they're still your family, whether you like it or not. And at some point, you have tried to, if you have a brother that's in the life, you have tried to speak to him and tell him, or if you have a sister that was in the life, you try and speak to her and tell her, hey, this is not the right way to go. And it's very self-destructive. And you try to do the best you can. But then you turn around and say, well, if you don't like it, then you're not part of this family. You cannot unfamily a person, okay? I mean, you can write them out of the will, but they're still family. Their blood still flows, right? I'm saying what I'm saying because I love the goodness of America. I love the super great things that we've done. The beginning of the conquest of space, right? The Civil War, where we said, no, we're not going to be a nation divided by free men and slave men. That freedom should be for everyone. That's what I love about this country. That's why at the times that I've been out in demonstrations and protesting, I could never burn a flag. I could never spit on a flag. Because I keep thinking about them black men on that hill in South Carolina charging in a certain death with that flag. And every time I see Donald Trump grab that American flag and wrap himself in it like he was trying to rape it, I want to vomit. So I don't need anybody to tell me any of that love it or leave it bullshit. All right? But I think it's time that we start telling some hard truths to the American people. Your problem is not the Democratic Party, my friends. Your problem is you. Okay? That's why we're in this situation. The world is looking at us in horror, sheer horror. They're telling their people, whatever you do, don't visit America. Can you imagine? British people telling each other, avoid America at all cost. Danish people telling each other, avoid America at all costs. Canadians! Good Lord, Canadians! Telling America, we're not going to look upon you as our neighbor no longer because of Donald Trump. Those guys that fought and died next to our guys fighting to destroy fascism. And then we turn around and we elect people in this last election that if they were alive during the time of the Nuremberg trials, they would have probably been hung as fascist criminals. This is the gift. This is the gift of freedom that we have supposedly given to the world. Vance jumps up and down talking about, his daddy Trump says that Western Europe owes America something. That Americans, we have been cheated by Western Europe. That's what it's come to. That our friends that stood by us and shed their blood with us, who do you think saved the world from fascism? Who do you think saved the world? Britain. Yeah, Britain. I know some people hate to hear that, but it's true. Remember, where was America in 1939? In 1940? And, hey, don't tell me about the Great Depression and how long it lasted. They had the Great Depression in Great Britain also. But it was the Brits that stood up to the Nazis until the Japanese screwed up and bombed Pearl Harbor and got us in the war. And then Hitler, like a damn fool, declared war on America. Okay, that's how we got into World War II. The world economic system, we made it. We built it. If you're pissed off about it, you should be pissed off at yourselves, right? But I don't know why. Because America made out like a fat rat in the cheese factory from 1945, okay, up until the late up until about the what, mid-'80s? Yeah, we made damn good. But what happens? History goes forward, right? When you see people trying to make history go backwards, that's where you usually have, you know, war, anger, that's where you have problems. Okay? It's like going out on I-95, driving along, then all of a sudden you just decide to go backwards, right? It's going to cause death, chaos, what have you. Well, that's what the world looks upon America as doing, right? You know it's not good because the ironic thing is that who are the main people right now, besides Latinos who are being carted off to El Salvador, but aside from that, the people who get hurt the most are the people that voted for Trump. I don't understand. I thought I had a pretty good idea about human nature. But when I see teachers standing outside crying because their whole career, it's cut to pieces, right? I'm like, why in the hell in 2024, why in the hell would a teacher be voting for Trump anyway? Especially a female teacher. I don't understand that. I really don't. And then they talk about what's done to our Veterans Administration. Why in the hell would a veteran who was, and got a disabled vet working for the federal government, why would you vote for Donald Trump? I don't understand this. I really don't. I think that this issue about racism, white supremacy, I think it is so deep in the American marrow, right? That a lot of times, people do things and we don't even realize what we're doing. And I'm a black man, but I'm not immune to it, right? I have questions for especially young black men. Why do you vote for somebody that totally disrespects you, disrespects your history, right? Why would you do that? America, if we are going to be a proud, strong, and friendly democratic nation, we're going to have to, this whole racism and sexism thing, right? We're going to have to smash it. Because one of the big dangers, as you can see with Donald Trump, one of the biggest dangers is the fact that I want to be a dictator, right? I have to find some kind of weakness in the democracy so that I can get in there and spew my lies, right? And get you all excited and angry, right? Well, I can use religion. I hate to use that term, race, because there's only one race, and that's the human race. But for the sake of this conversation, let's say race, okay? Religion, race, or sex, right? Just like Bill Maher, right? About a couple of months or a month before the election, he was young. Well, the Democrats just care about trans people, right? For somebody to deny their sex, right, what they think they were born with, that is for much more educated, sophisticated minds, much more so than either me or Bill Maher, okay, to grapple with. But the thing is it worth you not being able to feed your family? Is it worth you watching your business go down the toilet? Because to a very large extent, that's what happened with this past election. And see, until just like with a fire, you have to smother the oxygen to make it go out until we smother the oxygen of racism, sexism, uh, phony religion, right? Until we do that, we're going to continue to have these violent shifts, left, right, you know, instead of being a nation on some type of even keel, right? We are the strongest, most wealthiest nation in modern times. But we have such a misdistribution of wealth, right? We have so much inter-ethnic, racial, sex craziness that we cannot concentrate on what's important for a nation, feeding our people and feeding them good, wholesome, decent food, right? Educating our people, and not just the kids, okay, to learn about the country that we live in, where we come from, right? Who we are now and where we're going, right? And infrastructure. So that if I live in Arkansas or Missouri or, somewhere along the Alleghenies, I don't have to worry. My wife says she's got a lump on her breast, and the nearest hospital is like 25 miles away, right? Our health care, right? Housing. Nobody, male, female, adult, child, no one should have to sleep in the damn streets in the country as wealthy as we are, right? We need to be a nation where we can stand up and look at the world with a clear eye and say, yeah, we're about freedom and prosperity, and we don't have to scapegoat people, another group of people, to have that. That's from the old world, from another time. We are beyond that, and we don't have to try and rip open someone's head to look into their conscience to see what kind of God they believe in, because we believe that a man's soul is his own. That's the kind of nation I want to see. That's the kind of nation America's supposed to be. Not this clown show that we got here, where they sit around and discuss top secret missions where American boys and girls have to risk their lives. And they sit around and, it's top secret, what the hell? We'll just let anybody in, right? Because it might be good, it might look good politically. That's, we're supposed to be the good guys, right? That's what got us to this position, this high position that we've had in the world. And the thing with Trump and MAGA and what used to be the Republican Party, the thing with those people are that they want to kill the things that made America America. And that's what we have to stop. You look at Africa, you look at these rising nations, and nations are going to rise, whether you like it or not. I think the fastest growing country in the world is like Nigeria in Africa, right? And they're the youngest. You got whole continents of people who are like 14, 15. What do you think that means? What do you think that's going to mean 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And one of the most gifted car engineer, spaceship type people, what's he do? He runs around giving Nazi salutes out of America, right? He comes out of America now. What do you think that does to our image in the world, in the rest of the world? I can remember in America where even our enemies respected us. No one respects us now. Okay? Except, oh, well, yeah, we got aircraft carriers and what have you. So what are you going to do? We're going to lay waste to the planet because Trump wants to take over Greenland? We have lost our way. And I don't say that it was wrong not to put Kamala in the White House because I'm a Democrat. I'm saying it was wrong not to put her in the White House because the person that you did put in the White House was not worthy of being in the White House. You put a guy that could not get a job based on a resume, could get a job in McDonald's, but you put this guy in the White House. He couldn't get a position being a private in the National Guard, for goodness sake, but you put him in the White House. We need to stop lying to ourselves in this country, and we need to stop people lying to us. Listen, I think my time for the day is about up. I hope that you'll think about what I said. And I hope that America does, that we do get it together. All I can say is take care of each other and read and think. It's not a bad thing. And be woke. Being woke is beautiful because when you're woke, which means being awake, that means you can see where you're going. Let's pay attention to where we're going and start doing something about it, folks. This is Bob Gumbs with the Concerned Forum. See you next week, same time, same channel. Take care. Peace. Good night. I know you're asleep.
Welcome to Verizon. I'm the Verizon assistant.
Para español, oprima 9.
Verizon and our partners may record or monitor this call for quality, systems training, and personalization. Say or enter a phone number or account number associated with the question you are calling about. To become a new customer, say new customer, or you can say I don't have one.
I don't have one.
I need to know the type of service you want help with today. Say either mobile, home, 5G home internet,
Home.
LTE home. Just a moment, please.
Okay. First, what's your 5-digit zip code? Is this for your home or business service?
Home.
Please briefly describe the reason for your call today.
I was speaking to a supervisor about my bill, and we got disconnected when I went into an elevator.
Sorry, I didn't get that. Please briefly tell me the reason for your call today.
I was disconnected. I was speaking to a customer service rep, and I was disconnected.
There's a major storm predicted in the next 24
Oh,
hours,
Jesus
which could cause
Christ.
outages. To be prepared, we recommend charging all of your devices and having extra batteries on hand. You can go to verizon.com/outage to report any issues. I'll transfer you to someone who can assist you. For our privacy policy, visit verizon.com/privacy. During this call, your account may be reviewed for recommendations and offers. Security is our top priority. Before a representative can help you, please have your order number or PIN ready.
Your wait time to speak with a call center agent may be as long as 40 minutes. To have us call you back at a different time, say, schedule a callback. Or to continue to hold on the line for the next available agent, you can say, I'll wait.
Schedule a callback.